Hey guys, back here with a technical area review show for match week 4. Really exciting week. A lot of great games to go over. So, a lot to talk about here. And before we waste any more time, I want to keep this short, want to keep it condensed so it's not too hard and not too long for you guys to watch. So, let's get right into the round of Premier League in 180 seconds right now so we can recap match week 4. Starting off the weekend, Man United traveled to Southampton for match week 4. The Red Devils got off to a great start with the Daniel James goal in the 10th minute, but then Southampton came back. A goal in the 58th would tie it as Man United fall victims of another terrible second half. 1-1 was the final. Moving to London, Crystal Palace hosted Aston Villa on Saturday. The most important part of this game happened in stoppage time. Down 1-0, Jack Grealish got taken down in the box, but Villa ended up scoring anyway. Except the referee gave Grealish a card for simulation. The goal doesn't count and Villa lose a very controversial one, 1-0. Staying in London, we head to Sheffield United at Chelsea. Chelsea controlled the first half, going up 2-0 on a Tammy Abraham brace, but the break did not help. Sheffield United had the upper hand as they scored early in the second, then a late Zuma own goal tied things up as Sheffield steal points again with another hard-fought draw 2-2. Now to Newcastle, where the Toons hosted Watford in a pivotal game for the Hornets. Watford got off to a dream start with a Will Hughes goal 2 minutes in, and that would stand until just before the half when Fabian Schär slotted one home for Newcastle to tie things up. No goals in the second half would end this one 1-1 in what was a very equal battle. A battle that wasn't so equal? Brighton at Man City. The citizens didn't waste time with a Kevin De Bruyne goal in the second minute. A Sergio Aguero brace and a late Bernardo Silva goal would give City the easy 4-0 win at home. Let's head back to London now, where West Ham hosted Norwich. This one looked like it would feature a ton of goals with both sides very attack-minded, but it was Sebastian Haller and Andrei Yarmolenko who were the only ones to find the net, both for West Ham as the organized Hammers stifled the Canaries for a 2-0 victory. From London to Leicester, where the Foxes took on Bournemouth, a goal each in the first 15 minutes would make this an exciting start, but that wouldn't last long as the Foxes took control. A goal just before the half and a second Vardy goal in the 73rd would seal the deal as Leicester continue their undefeated start to the season with a 3-1 win. The final game on Saturday featured Liverpool on the road against Burnley. Not much to see here, another solid performance by the Reds as they cruised to a 3-0 victory to remain the only Premier League team to win all 4 of their matches this year. Moving to Sunday, things got really exciting as Wolves traveled to Goodison Park to take on Everton. 3 goals in 12 minutes, 2 for Everton, made it an unbelievable start, then things calmed down. Just a bit though. In the 75th minute, Raul Jimenez tied things up for Wolves, but that's not all. Richarlison found the back of the net just 5 minutes later for his second of the day as the Toffees put in a solid performance for a 3-2 win. To finish off the excitement, the North London derby. Tottenham got off to a hot start with 2 goals in the first half, but just before the break, Lacazette cut the lead in half for a 2-1 halftime deficit for the Gunners. The score would remain the same until Aubameyang found the net to tie things up in the 71st minute. Arsenal continued to threaten but couldn't find the winner as the first derby of the year ended 2-2. Well, there you have it, guys. Your around the Premier League in 180 seconds recap of match week 4. As you can see, a lot of excitement surrounding the league this week just before the international break. A great week of Premier League soccer, and it kind of makes you hate that the international break has to happen this week because such good soccer this weekend. And if you watched any of the soccer, you could have saw that. Even just listening to the recaps, tons of goals, tons of late excitement, and just a really, really good week of soccer. And, a lot of teams had great performances. A lot of teams had average performances. And we're going to get right into that right now as we continue this recap and try and move along here. And we're going to start off with the Champions League bound teams of the week. And just to explain a little bit about what this is teams not that are necessarily looking at a Champions League berth, but teams that have played really, really well over the course of the weekend or over the course of their game during the weekend. So we're trying to recognize teams that are playing really, really well that week. First off, we have a team that probably will be in Champions League next year, Liverpool. Liverpool played exceptional again, really did not make any worries or did not make it any doubt that they would win this game. Came out firing on all cylinders and got off to a quick 2-0 lead, another goal in the second half. would make it 3-0, and really they cruised to this one. The second half, they didn't play as well as they could have, but up 3-0 at that point. It was an easy victory for them. So just continuing to do what they need to do, winning games against teams that they should beat every week and making it not too difficult, and then going into those matches against teams that are difficult matchups, and just handing them a tough defeat, because they've come out, they've been terrific week in, week out. Only team to win all 4 of their Premier League matches this season, so they find themselves at the top of the table, and also in here in Champions League bound teams of the week. Moving forward, another team that had a really good performance and was another team that is probably headed to the Champions League, Man City. I mean, there's not really much to say about this one. Man City put in another great performance, 4-0 at home against Brighton, a team who's looked pretty good for the first 3 weeks. Again, just really beating teams bad. They have a pretty high goal differential now with a 5-0, 4-0 win. They've looked very good. The only game that they did not win was the tie against Tottenham, a game that they probably should have won. They've looked just as good as Liverpool, I think. So it's going to be a real tough battle near the top there. But both those teams definitely deserving after big, emphatic wins this weekend. Moving forward now, Leicester. Leicester, not a surprise, because we expected them to be dangerous this year, but they've played really, really well, and they are also undefeated this year so far during the season. They have, I believe, 2 draws to start the season, and then they've won their last 2. I think that finds them in 4th now in the Premier League table, still early. But they put in another great performance. They hosted Bournemouth, who can be difficult to deal with, and it was a quick start, 1-1 after the first 15 minutes. But Leicester hung in there, got goals from Tielemans and Vardy, and got a 3-1 victory, a decisive 3-1 victory at home. And they're off to a great start, and I think the other day was a perfect example of that, as they beat Bournemouth 3-1, and that's why I put them here in the Champions League bound teams of the week. Finally, a team who hadn't had a great week or a great few weeks to start off the season, West Ham United. They came in, they welcomed the Norwich team, who had been very attack-minded, done a lot of really good stuff for the weeks beforehand. And you kind of expected this one to be a really, really high-scoring game, and I said that in this recap, and I said that in the preview. But it wasn't. West Ham was very organized over the course of this game, not allowing any goals. They scored 2 goals themselves, but really kind of held Norwich at bay. Didn't really let them do anything on offense or anything of note on offense. Didn't get any goals. And they looked really, really organized. They looked like they had a good shape throughout the entire match, and that's why they had a good 2-0 victory over Norwich. And that's why I find them on my team of the week, because I think that they had a very solid performance, and they needed that, as they had a few weeks in a row where they just weren't able to put that together. So that's my Champions League bound teams of the week: Liverpool, Man City, Leicester, West Ham. Obviously, a lot of other teams having great performances this week. But those are the ones that I chose just based on how emphatic their performances were, or how meaningful their performances were, and how solid they were. Moving on now to the relegation-worthy teams of the week. These are teams that had bad weeks, teams that were not very good this week when they should have been, against teams that maybe weren't that good, or teams that they should have beaten. They just didn't look good, and I think you're probably already know a couple of these to start off, and the first one is Man United, another terrible second half. They played really well for the first half. They played really well for the first half, and that seems to be the theme here. They played really well, or at least decently well, for the first half, but unable to get it done. It's it's the same thing every week, and it feels like I am a broken record saying this every week, but they got to figure it out. Another terrible second half allowed Southampton to get back in the game. There were points when Southampton looked like they were going to get a second goal in this one. They eventually got a red card, and Man United still didn't put enough pressure on Southampton to get that second goal. I felt like they could have done much better with the red card. 17 minutes they had to score a second goal plus stoppage time. Couldn't get it done, and that's why they land on my relegation-worthy teams of the week, just because a bad performance, I think, in the second half. And all around. They can't be tying teams like Southampton if they want to go anywhere and get a Champions League spot this year. Moving on, another team that's struggled so far this season. Another team that finds himself in the same position as Man United in the sense that they're definitely on the lower half of that top six, and they've showed it so far this season. Chelsea. Granted, Sheffield United are very good. Seem to be a very good team. They seem to be a very solid team. And after that first half, they played poorly in the first half. Chelsea came out firing. Everything looked great. And then in the second half, they just fell apart. They had a 2-goal lead on a team that was just newly promoted. And I know Sheffield United has looked good, but they still have to win that game. They got to finish it off, especially at home. That's not a game you can lose. They should have won that one. I think all Chelsea fans would be disappointed with that. The Zuma own goal obviously makes it hurt a little bit more. But it's if you look at the games around the league, this one was an exciting one by far, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But Chelsea, not a good performance in the second half, not a good performance overall because of that, getting the tie, and that's why I have them on my relegation-worthy teams of the week. And then finally, the final game of the weekend was Tottenham at Arsenal, and I think Tottenham should have won this game. They provided the domination to start the first. They had Arsenal on the back foot, had a 2-0 win, and with their 2-0 lead, and with their defense, they should have easily been able to stop that Arsenal attack, and they should have probably been able to put another one in the back of the net. Going in or having that 2-0 lead, giving up the goal just before halftime, and then letting the Gunners really run rampant on them in the second half for large parts of that. Should have done better. I think there was a lot of really good performances and teams that had tough matchups. So it was tough to pick this third relegation worthy of the team, a relegation worthy team of the week. But I think Tottenham has to land on there just because they had that 2-0 lead and they fell apart there in the second half. So that's my relegation worthy teams of the week. Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, all on there. All big teams who should be performing better, especially United and Chelsea against the teams they played. So there you have it. Moving finally to the game of the week, and this will feature Chelsea again because I think that this was the most exciting one, how it panned out. We had a lot of excitement. Tottenham at Arsenal 2-2. Wolves at Everton 3-2 with late goals there. Watford and Newcastle was a good one. Man United Southampton was a good one, just from an excitement standpoint. But I think that overall, I think Chelsea at Sheffield United was the best game of the week. I think this one, I think it. I think it had it all. I think it had the early Chelsea lead. You're thinking that they're going to blow them out, and then Sheffield United, the newly promoted side, coming back from 2 goals down, doing what they've done like really every single week. They seem to put in a hard-fought effort, getting the own goal late, putting the pressure on Chelsea, a team that should really have no business being in a game with Chelsea, Sheffield United. And I just think this one had it all. I think it was excitement from really start to finish, lots of goals. Exciting finish, and that's why I have them as my game of the week. So there you have it. That's the entire recap of match week 4. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you guys had a lot of fun watching this past week of Premier League soccer. It was a really exciting one, and hopefully we get that in a couple weeks. Unfortunately, we got to wait a week here for international break to get over, and because of that, we won't have a preview show this week. It'll be preview next week when match week 5 is coming around. So next Friday you'll see that. But other than that, guys, hope you guys had a great time. If you missed any games, hopefully I gave you some insight on those games. And again, as I always say, hope that you can talk a little bit more at the water cooler if there's any Premier League talk. But for now, that's the review show. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.